Thank you, Mr Assistant President. I move the motion. And Mr President, earlier this month, the New South Wales Police dropped all charges against Friendly Jordies producer Christo Langer, and the local court ordered that the New South Wales Police Force pay $12,000 in legal costs to Mr Lanker's lawyer. Mr Lanker, of course, was arrested in June last year. He was charged with 4 counts of stalking or intimidating the former New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro with intent to cause fear or physical harm, and a hearing was set down for May this year. This case has attracted significant public attention for, I think, quite understandable reasons, and it's attracted attention in this place as well, in this House and through the budget estimates hearings. A video was widely circulated of both the arrest of Mr Lanker, which included a very physical arrest by members of the New South Wales Police Fixated Persons Unit, but also the video of what appeared to be a relatively innocuous interaction between Mr Lanker and the former Deputy Premier John Barilaro just hours before. The circumstances of that arrest, the speed of the arrest just hours after that interaction, has raised many questions. The role of the Fixated Persons Unit has been raised, as I said, in this place and in budget estimates, and we know that procedures that should have been followed with regards to cases under their jurisdiction weren't followed. It seems clear that no fixated persons assessment was conducted either in relation to Mr Lanker or Mr Jordan Shanks either before the Fixated Persons Unit's detectives turned up at Mr Lanker's doorstep. I have been informed, and it's an item subject to this motion, that the police established a strike force in relation to the Friendly Jordies YouTube channel and those involved with it long before Mr Lanker's arrest and well before the infamous Friendly Jordies video, which was filmed in the former Deputy Premier's holiday home. We have a situation here where the New South Wales Police have arrested a political critic of the government of the day under circumstances that seemed entirely over the top, seemingly outside of normal practices, and coinciding with a private defamation action by the former Deputy Premier. And then after the resignation of the Deputy Premier from Parliament, the police have dropped the charges. Mr Lanker's lawyer, Mr Mark Davis, has said publicly, and I quote, "What became evident was Christo and Jordan were being monitored for a long time before this event, for many months." And end quote. And he has asked, and I quote, "How on earth did they come to the attention of the Fixated Persons Unit?" He further described the circumstances as, and I quote, "particularly sinister." Well, certainly it is curious, and there are indeed questions to answer, and I think it is entirely appropriate for the Legislative Council to seek to answer those questions with an order for papers. Those questions relate to how Friendly Jordies came to the interest of police in the first place, the decision to establish a strike force in relation to the YouTube channel and those associated with it, and the circumstances that led up to that decision. Most importantly, I think the role of any elected officials and public servants in communicating with the New South Wales Police about the establishment of the strike force, the investigation, the role of the FPU and the arrest of Mr Lanker. And then the circumstances that led up to the arrest of Mr Lanker, which, of course, I've described as also seeming quite curious. Mr Davis, who is the lawyer for both Mr Lanker and also Mr Jordan Shanks, has also said, and I quote, "There is a strong political odour hanging over the ability to have a dedicated police unit with extended powers and resources to monitor political satirists," end quote. Now, that's quite an extraordinary thing for a lawyer to say, and I think it's not just in the interests of those who have been involved in this particular case, but in the interests of the public and also in the interest of the government, that the details surrounding this matter and the role of all those involved can be much more transparent than it has been to date. And so I commend this motion to call for papers associated with these matters to the House.
Thank you. Any other members seeking the call? The Minister. Thank you, Mr Assistant President. The government does not oppose the motion.
Thank you. The Honourable Walter Cord.
I welcome the government's own decision not to oppose it, and I think it's a fait accompli.
Thank you. Any other members seeking the call? Mr Field in reply. In that case, I'll put the motion. The Honourable Justin Field has moved private members' business item number 1720. The question is that of the member. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it.